Coming up on the Pioneer Sideline, running away. Anna Shields and the cross-country teams taking on some of the best runners in the country. Shields joins us in studio to talk about the race.
Volley fall. Point Park drops to 3-3 in conference play after a tough home loss. The highlights are next.
And City of Champions. Which city really deserves the title?
The show of champions starts now. It's time to come on down to the Pioneer Sideline.
Good evening and welcome to the Pioneer Sideline. I'm Sarah Maculin.
And I'm Josh Krupp. The volleyball team has seen the most conference action out of any team on campus so far this fall.
And last weekend they hosted a pair of conference games in the Student Center gym.
The first was against the 4-13 Midway Eagles. Point Park won that one easily in 3 sets.
Then it was time to host the undefeated Asbury Eagles on Saturday.
And that was a chance for Point Park to extend its RSC winning streak to 4. Let's check out the highlights to see if they could do that.
River State's conference volleyball action Saturday. Point Park hosting Asbury. The Eagles enter the game 3-0 in River State's conference play. Pioneers 3-2 on a 3-game conference winning streak. First set, it was close early. Point Park up 17-16. Then they went on a nice little run. Here it's 23-17. A big swing from Ashley Taylor leads the conference in kills. Makes it 24-17. Set point ensuing serve. Julia Minoski closes it out. Set 1 goes to the Pioneers 25-17. On to set 2. Asbury up by 3. Then Point Park goes on a run. After a timeout, they roll off to a 21-17 lead. Then scary moment. Left side of your screen. Taylor, the right side hitter, lands wrong on her left ankle. That puts her out for the game. Point Park did hang on to win set 2, 25-23. On to the third set. Point Park up 22-16, trying to close things out in 3 sets. Then Asbury goes on a tear. They get point after point to rally and extend the game to a 4th set. They win 25-22 in set 3. Then 4th set back and forth all set, then tied at 23. It's a diving save from Morgan D'Angelo. Meg Reinecke comes in with a hard swing. This gives Point Park a match point opportunity. Then Asbury gets a point back. They sneak one through Point Park. Then here a big block for Asbury. The Eagles take set 4 and they force a 5th set. And Asbury jumps out quickly in that 5th set. Another big block. They open the 5th set on a 5-1 run. Point Park did rally back to make it 5-4, but then Asbury able to close things out. They take set 5, 15-8, and win 3 sets to 2. The coaches and players talked after the game about the tough contest that was Saturday.
Again, beating a really good team like Point Park will hopefully help boost our confidence. Hopefully not make us overconfident, but at the same time, again, going in a little bit more confident than we've been lately.
They're relentless. They're tough. They have some great kids that do some good things, and they come at you the same way every year with that 6-2, and they got a strong middle, a nice outside, and they outworked us.
I think this is a learning point. We, had the first 2 and lost the last 3, so I think that we just have to learn from this and learn for all of us to be all in and have that passion every single point, no plays off.
Next up for Point Park, Tuesday, October 3rd, they're at Ohio Christian, 7 p.m. tip-off. Point Park returns home October 6th and 7th for River State Conference games against West Virginia Tech and Rio Grande.
Thanks, Josh. We're joined in the studio now by Kira Fry and Mike Turk to help break down this weekend.
Mike, I want to start with the obvious question. How long is Ashley Taylor going to be out, and how much of an impact do you think it actually had that game against Asbury?
Well, first I'm going to start with that last point you made. I think it had a big impact in there. Julia Minoski got way too consistent where she was setting the ball. Meg Reinecke got hot there in the 4th set. She kept going outside with her. Wherever Reinecke was, that's where she was going. She did not utilize her options. And usually it's nice to have that 1-2 option between Reinecke and Ashley Taylor on the right side, but she kept going Reinecke. Now, I talked to Ashley Taylor yesterday. She is on crutches. It's the ankle. She came down on it. She was in agony on the court. It was a tough moment to watch. You were there with me. It was tough to watch to see one of the best players go down on the team. You never want to see that happen to anybody. But She has not seen a doctor yet. She's only seen the trainers. If she makes progress by Thursday, then she will go to the doctors, but it's not looking like she'll play this weekend.
And Kira, how important is it for Point Park to turn the page on this tough loss?
Yeah, a lot of times the tougher the loss, the tougher it is to move on from it, but the team needs to be able to do just that so that they can focus on the future games and be prepared to play their best, because if they focus on this one tough loss, then I don't think they'll be able to play to their full potential.
So the teams now, we'll wrap with this, 3-3 in conference play. Last year they didn't even have 3 losses all season in conference play. Do they set the bar right now at winning the conference title in the tournament, or do they still look at winning that regular season title outright? We'll start with Mike.
Well, you have 2 teams undefeated in the West. Asbury, who is 4-0 now, 5-0 now, don't quote me on that, and IU Kokomo, who's 6-0. They just beat IU East this past weekend, gave IU East their first conference loss of the season. But that was before the Point Park game against Asbury, so it was looking really good for Point Park that weekend. They go up 2-0 in the match. IU East just lost. They were about to gain a game on them. But it's looking like they're going to have to go and compete at the conference tournament this year.
I was thinking the same thing as Mike, mainly because of their loss to Asbury and how many teams are still undefeated in the conference. So I think that they're going to have to focus on making a run at the tournament.
Well, thank you both. And Kira, welcome to the Pioneer Sideline.
Thank
We're
you.
excited to have you. So coming up next, we're joined by the 3-time NAIA Runner of the Week.
And later, the men's and women's soccer teams open conference play on the road. Those results and analysis are ahead.
I shouldn't have to pay to walk down the street. Pay with my comfort, my freedom, my peace. Always on guard, on edge, off limits. Don't follow me, don't touch me, don't treat me like I'm yours. I don't need your whistles, your comments, your eyes. I already know I'm a prize. My confidence isn't for sale. Respect me, don't inspect me.
And when people ask us who can join UView, the answer really is anybody, and we mean anybody. Any major, any experience level. Some people, have a lot of experience coming out of high school, and others don't know how to really sit on a couch properly, and that's okay. We're here just to give you the chance to learn and have fun and prepare yourself for the real world. College, after all, it's all about trying new things.
Welcome back. Anna Shields has made headlines for the cross-country team since she transferred to Point Park last year.
And she's made headlines this year with 3 race wins, 3 National Runner of the Week awards, and an impressive performance last weekend against some top NCAA D1 opponents.
She joins us in studio now to talk about her impressive season so far. Thanks for coming down, Anna.
Thank you so much for having me, Josh and Sarah.
So let's get started with this incredible season. You're killing minutes off your times from last year. It's not like a couple seconds better. What approach did you have going into this cross-country season that was different than your approach going into last year?
Honestly, the main difference has just been doing all the little things outside of practice, like eating well and just like doing all the strength training and core exercises, and it just made me a lot stronger overall. It's really, really helped.
So you've already won 3 NAIA National Runner of the Week in 3 races so far. So what does that do for your confidence, and how do you transfer that to the team as an individual award?
It definitely was very exciting to win. I didn't expect to have such a good cross-country season because normally track's my thing.
Right.
I know that this team is the best we've ever had, and I hope that if we do get to go to nationals, like that I can lead the team. And I went last year, so I can, understand the excitement of the event and just kind of give some advice to the team on that. If we go, I really hope so. I think we have a good chance to do so.
And you mentioned track season. That last year, was that your main focus going into last year compared to cross country? Like you were warming up for track season?
Track has always been like my sport, and I'm still more excited for it than cross country, even though cross country's been a ton of fun. And cross country is sort of more of a team sport with the top 7 really mattering. So that aspect of it is really fun.
Now, you spoke of cross country being more of a team sport. I know this past weekend you didn't race with the team. You raced separately with the NCAA Division I runners. So how was that different? How did that feel, being separate like that and getting to race against such good competition?
It was definitely strange being on the starting line and being in my own little starting box with no team. There was only one other girl in the race that didn't have a team with her, but it was really my only opportunity to face that kind of competition, and it's the best field of runners that I've ever faced. So I had to take the opportunity when the race director allowed me to do it. I was very happy. I guess he knew me from NAIA Nationals. He was actually an official at the national meet, so he was like, oh yeah, Anna can do the race. And I got to meet Allie Ostrander, who ran in the Olympic trials for the 5K and the 3K steeple, and she's just one of my idols, so that was really exciting.
What did you bring back from that meet to your team?
That I think it really, I try to tell everyone that anything is possible. Like, don't put any limits on yourself. Last year, when I was running in the silver race, I watched those girls run and I thought, that's possible. They're not out of reach. Like, what they're doing is not out of reach. And I tell that to the team all the time, like, don't set any arbitrary limits on yourself, because the great thing about our sport is I think that anyone can put in the work and reach the top.
Now, you went back and said about training, how you changed kind of the little things. So how is it different training for cross country than it is for track? And have you put like more focus?
Cross country is sort of more about the mileage and more race pace workouts instead of full out speed, which I do kind of miss the track workouts of like really spiking up and just going all out. But cross country, you don't really need to do that because it's a much longer race and it's more about strength and endurance.
So is the transition hard going from the cross country season when that's winding down to getting prepared for track?
It actually works out perfectly, because when we start tapering for cross country, we do start to bring in more speed and less mileage at the end of the season, just to have our legs feeling a little fresher. So that really leads perfectly into track, which will start in December.
One last question. What is your biggest goal from here on out, from not even just cross country season, between this season, indoor and outdoor track seasons?
My biggest goal is to make USAs for track, like not just NAIAs, but the actual USATF meet, and run with all the top people. And it would be very hard to make the times. I've never run fast enough, but I do, like I said, don't put any limits. I think it's possible.
That's a great attitude to
Thanks.
have.
Thank you so much for coming down, Anna. We really appreciate it. We wish you the best of luck this entire season on behalf of the entire Pioneer Sideline crew.
Coming up next, we're joined by our soccer reporters to see how the Point Park men's and women's soccer teams fared this weekend in conference play. Those results and more are next.
What would you do to create something that could survive 1,000 years? You'd start with a formula, head to the lab, and forge it with fire. Just imagine everything it could do. It could leak pollutants into the soil and water, or it could conserve energy, cut CO2 emissions, and reduce raw material. Recycling is more than cutting waste. Recycling is about the legacy you want to leave. Why on earth would you want to do anything else? Recycle. Don't throw away our chance at survival.
Good evening and welcome to Newsnight. I'm Josh Krupp alongside Jess Paterchak. Tonight we begin with
The mayor is continuing to deal with the challenges the city is facing.
But tomorrow we have just a little bit of cloudiness. We have
off throughout the day with some strong wind gusts. That's going to continue tomorrow. 20
teams have already started talking to free agents. Saturday's partly cloudy, but 70 degrees? Where is the pool at? I mean, come on.
You might have already burned your bracket, ripped it up.
I am Royce Jones.
And I am Casey Houlihan.
Thank you so much for joining us this evening. That's your news tonight, Virginia.
UView Television is live here at the Center for Media Innovation with a very exclusive interview with Point Park's Black Diamond, our school mascot. We're taking questions on our social media at UView Television.
Our first question came in from @PointParkU Black Diamond. They want to know, what is one thing you love about Point Park?
UView.
I knew it.
UView's the best.
It is. All right, Alex, you want to read our next question?
Okay, we have another question from Point Park Cab. They're asking, when is the next time you're going to make a surprise appearance at their next event?
He's being coy. Looks like we're going to have to show up.
Yeah,
to
I guess we'll have to see.
All right, that's all we have for right now, but you can submit your own questions at UView Television, and we might read one of yours after the break.
Welcome back. The Point Park women's soccer team took to the road last week and opened up River State's conference play.
The team traveled to Kentucky on Thursday to face Asbury University and then took to Cincinnati, Ohio to face another RSC competitor in Cincinnati Christian. The women came away at an even 1-1 in their first two games of River State's conference play.
Allison Schubert joins us in studio now to talk about that road trip. First of all, briefly, how did the team look and what are they looking at for this coming weekend?
Well, how did the team look last weekend? They looked okay in the first game. They were able to win it in 3 minutes, essentially. And it was Lauren Bauer off of a pass from Nikki Polans. She scored, and then not even 3 minutes later, Nikki Polans got a goal of her own. So 3 minutes, they won the game. The next game, however, a little bit rough. It was a 5-3 loss at Cincinnati Christian, and it was rough for the team. I think it messed them up a little bit. And Coach has been saying since the beginning of season, they create a lot of chances, but they have a lot of trouble executing. So I think that's what happened to them there.
What about this weekend coming up?
This weekend coming up is very big for them. 2 home games. Their last home game was September 16th at Pikeville, and it was the first of a 3-game shutout streak, I guess. And that was their first win of the season too. So I think home games have a tendency to be very good for them, and I think that this can really launch them into more conference play.
Now they had earlier in the season they had those 3 games when they won 3 in a row. I believe almost all 3 of them were shutouts. And then they lost 1-0 to Geneva College, and they kind of haven't been able to get back on their feet. So how important is it that they get on a hot streak now that River State's conference play is starting?
Well, looking back to last year, as soon as River State's conference play started, they had that hot streak, and it ultimately led them to another conference championship. So I think it's very vital for them to come back home, to be able to win a few games, and to look forward to that conference championship again.
Thanks, Allison, so much for your coverage.
The women's soccer team were not the only ones to hit the road this weekend. The Point Park men's soccer team joined them on the road to open River State's conference play.
Yes, Sarah, the men's soccer team finished the weekend at 1-1 in River State's conference in the standings. The games ended with a close loss to Asbury University and a blowout win against Cincinnati Christian.
Megan Mastiosi, joins us in studio now to discuss the men's road trip. Megan, what do you think about this weekend's road trip?
I think it was a decent road trip. You know, they went to Asbury first. They lost 2-1. It was kind of a heartbreaking game. They had their 5-game win streak snapped. But then they went and they won 8-1 on Sunday, which was a huge confidence boost, not only to the offense because they scored 8 goals. And Roberto, I'm blanking on his last name
Roberto
right now.
Whitley.
Yes, had 4 goals. So I think confidence boost to the offense, confidence boost to the defense. You only let in 1 goal, so the defense had to do some work. So coming back, like I said, decent. You split in conference. I don't know.
So you mentioned Whitley, so I'll ask about Whitley. He got 4 goals alone in that one game
And an
against Cincy
assist.
Christian, 5 goals total. Last year he had 6.
Yeah.
What's it mean to this team to have Roberto Whitley get on a roll, somebody who has some on-the-field issues? And like any game that he plays, it seems like he gets a yellow card. How important is it for him? I guess we'll ask the discipline question, to stay on the field.
It's very important for him because right now he's the second best goal scorer for them. Alden Ramos obviously is first. He has 8 goals. And Roberto and Mark Bentley are each tied at 7. So he needs to keep that temper under control because when he does, I mean, they scored 8 goals. Clearly they have the offensive power. It's keeping the emotions in check during the game. And if he does that, I think this offense could really take it to the next level.
So Megan, you mentioned how offensively they're doing well. They have this offensive spike. They're scoring all these goals. And they sit at 6-3, which is decent right now. So how do they keep this going? And what do you expect for them in the next month or so?
Well, as I was looking at it, the remaining teams they've lost to 5 of them. And these aren't like 2-1 losses, 3-1 losses. Like these are deep losses, 5-0, 6-0. So I think if they do keep their emotional issues under control and they start to get that offensive power rolling, they could probably come away with a couple more goals, tighten up the defense. I think they could do well down here on the road. But it's, like you said, the yellow cards, they have to keep it under control. And as long as they get the offense rolling, I think they could be competitive this year.
And Josh Williams with a red card over the weekend, too.
Yeah.
And we saw what happened whenever we didn't have him on the defense earlier this season. Well, thank you so much, Megan. Coming up next, it's time for everybody's favorite sideline segment, the Case of the Week.
We'll sit down with Kira, Jared, and Zach to debate which sports city is the real city of champions. All next on Pioneer Sideline.
You'll ever do. 2 can be as bad as 1. It's the loneliest number since the number 1.
Good evening and welcome to Newsnight. I'm Josh Troop alongside Jess Paterchak.
Take a look at the 5-day forecast.
You might have already burned your bracket, ripped it up, or put it through a paper shredder by now.
British Prime Minister Theresa May officially triggered Article 50 on Tuesday.
The World Baseball Classic has concluded with Team USA winning its first title in 4 WBC tournaments.
And that is your news tonight. With Royce Jones, I'm Danis Marrero. Have a great night.
Welcome back. Pittsburgh calls itself the City of Champions.
But so do other cities. What one of them really deserves to hold that title? It's time for the Case of the Week. Let's embrace debate this week with Jared Davis, Kira Fry, and Zach Thrasher. 2 guys making their return appearance to the Case of the Week, and Kira making her debut. Okay, one of you has to have Pittsburgh. Who has Pittsburgh? Zach, we're not starting with you. We'll end with you. We'll go Jared, Kira, then Zach. What city is the city champions?
I have New York City. Well, New York in general, because they already have 55 in general. The Yankees have 27, which is already 7 behind Boston itself. And they also have a 4-peat with the Islanders. Rangers have won a couple. The Mets have won 2. And the Giants have also won 4. And the Jets have won 1.
Okay, Kira.
I have Boston, mainly because the Patriots have the most Super Bowl appearances. And they've appeared in the Super Bowl 9 times, and they've won 5 out of those 9 times. And the rest of their pro sports teams have had at least 6 championship wins. I believe that's like the lowest number for all of their teams.
Okay, Pittsburgh.
Defend your case.
They have 16 total championships between the Pirates, the Penguins, and the Steelers. Right off the bat, knocked 2 of New England's off for cheating. Just saying, Spygate.
We still have
You know
them,
it's
so we
coming.
can't.
And the tuck rule. But I won't even count that. New York, too. The Giants and the Jets don't even play in New York. They play in New Jersey now. So, those really count?
I mean, we still have more.
Still. Do they count, though?
Are you from New York?
No.
Okay.
I'm from New York, and I'm arguing Pittsburgh.
Okay. So right now you're arguing Pittsburgh. New York, the Yankees alone have 27. You're saying that that number may be a little inflated then?
No. I mean, they won the championships.
Because you're using the numbers, that's what I'm saying. Like you're saying we have 16, but the Yankees alone have 27, which boosts. So if you're looking at just the numbers.
Right, but you've also got, I'm taking into account, Pitt football has 9 national championships if you're counting college.
Oh,
You've got, the great, athletes that just come from the area of Pittsburgh. Dan Marino, Aaron Donald, Johnny Unitas. Hall of Famers. Pittsburgh just produces Hall of Famers.
See, this is where I like bringing some personality into this question. You all brought up numbers right down the line.
Yeah.
But what makes City of Champions is their fans. They have some say in this. So defend fan base.
So the Yankees have had a diehard fan base forever now because mainly they keep on winning. The Knicks, everyone forgets about the Knicks, but they have the craziest fan base probably almost in the NBA. There's a few teams that still outrank them, but due to diehardness, a lot of them still are fans, which is kind of shocking.
Breaking news, you heard it here first. The Knicks have fans. So
Exactly.
what about eras? Are we looking at all-time City of Champions? Are you looking at City of Champions since 2000? How do you justify your timelines from Pittsburgh, Boston especially, because they've had quite a few since the turn of the century?
That's a great point. I mean, I'll go off that. I mean, definitely. I mean, I'm just thinking Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh owns the 70s for me, definitely. 4 Super Bowls. I'm pretty sure that they won 2 baseball in the 70s too. So I mean, I'm pretty sure that these two would agree with me. Pittsburgh owns the 70s.
Yeah, definitely the 70s. But Pittsburgh was originally given the title the City of Champions in the 70s because they had 6 championship wins. But in the 2000s, the first 10 years, Boston has had 10 championship wins between their 4 sports teams.
-2 for cheating.
See, but you
That's
can't,
still more
you
than
can't
have
say
the
that
ring,
because
though.
they
They
saw
still have the
right.
ring.
Yeah.
This is going well so far. How do you think the New York argument plays out, though?
The New York argument, it's
so many.
It's
So many.
hard because it's almost like you have to narrow it down, like Zach brought up, how with the New Jersey aspect of it, because there's so many teams, there's so many outreach. I mean, New York, not many cities and states have multiple sports teams like New York does. So it's almost like I need to narrow that down to get a better glimpse of it. But we brought up history. And Pittsburgh has a great sport, but so does New York. Like, the Yankees have pretty much been good.
They have a great history. Let's look at since 2000. Where does New York rank against Boston and Pittsburgh since 2000?
It falls
as
behind.
a city of champions.
It falls behind, but I also see it as New York was also the only team to beat a Boston team and the Patriots more than once in the championship game. So I feel like that can weigh a big amount, definitely because it's Tom Brady, not like a Joe Flacco.
Let's try and pick our winner.
Okay.
Do you have one?
I don't know. It's hard. I don't want to count you out there, Jared, but to me, it kind of, you have to look at, maybe New York has a good span of champions, but like, you got to think of, like we brought up the eras with the 70s, with the Pirates and the Steelers, and right now what the Penguins have been doing.
Yeah.
And Boston too as well, though. The Celtics were good for a number of years, so were the Bruins, and the Patriots still are. So it's kind of a toss-up for me between those two.
Celtics might be coming back. I'm going to go Kira on the win for the debate side. I think Boston had the better points. Pittsburgh certainly has had its strides, but like that was in the 70s that they really were the city
Still
of
waiting
champions.
for the Pirates to come back.
Someday.
You're asking for a lot.
Maybe when our grandkids are playing ball for them, then we'll finally see a World Series. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us for another episode. That's all the time we have for this week.
Be sure to join us next week at the same Pioneer time
The same Pioneer channel.
and the same Pioneer sideline.